if I'm right in saying, and I haven't actually checked this, that we ended on page 7. Okay, now page 8 starts with changing the subject of the formula higher questions. And what makes them higher tier is that the subject, for example, in this case, rearranged to make W the subject, appears in 2 different things. So it's there and there. That's much, much more tricky to do, and something I'm going to leave and do an example in school. You don't need to worry about it for the mock. It's something we're going to do after the mock, ready for November. There's not one of these in the mock, so I'm going to skirt past that one. So by all means, when you complete a new booklet, feel free to leave page 8 and 9, and let's go on to trial and improvement. Now, I'm going to pick one that I've thrown in there because, right, it's unusual because it's 2 decimal places, right? Actually, am I? No, because for the mock purposes, let's do this one, right? So, x cubed minus 3x equals 37, right? Sometimes it's usual for them to be equal to 0, but in this case, they've left the 37 on that side, so it's equal to 37. Lies between 3 and 4, so your setup is, okay, let's have a guess then. Between 3 and 4, let's go in the middle, right? Actually, I'm not doing this one, I'll tell you why. Because there's no number before the x cubed. Neither is there. Neither is there. Right, I'm actually going to do the first one. Right, it's one, right, sorry, because I think just to show how to write this out. So between 1 and 2, so we're going to try x equals 1.5. So we're going to write this out as 2x cubed, and every time I put x in, I'm putting it in brackets, plus, if there was a number before the x, I would write it, but in this case, just x, take away 10, and that goes into my calculator. And now you're going to be bored because I have to do this and speak to you. I'm probably get it wrong. I haven't even got a very good calculator here. Hopefully you've already done this one anyway. So I get for this one minus 1.75, which is below 0 because it's negative. So it's too small. Too small. So we make the guess bigger, right? So 1.6. If that's too small, we go up to 1.7. If that's too small, you get the plan, right? I'm not going to do this because I just think it's just a nice, easy one. Once you find one that's too big, okay, you have to do a check. So I'm guessing here, because I haven't done it myself, if the answer is between these two, if 1.7 is too small but 1.8 is too big, then you would do a check, which is halfway between those two. So in this case, it would be 1.75. And if your check is too big, the answer is the lower one. And if your check is too small, the answer is the bigger one. And that's all I want to say on trial and improvement for you, because there's more pressing matters at hand. Okay, so the next topic that will come up in this mock is some expanding and simplifying. I think we just need to do these guys. Right. Okay. We all have different ways to do this. Some like to do the first thing times the second bracket, right? Some used to use FOIL or smiley face or whatever, okay? We all should end up with the same answers, right? So some of you are going to do this, that times that, that times that, that times that, right? Look, the most common way that we've been using is to write the first thing in the first bracket and times it by the second bracket. Then write the second thing and times it by the bracket, okay? So 2 times 5 is 10, h times h is h squared. 2 times 7 is 14, h times t is ht, or th, whatever you prefer. There's a minus, we're actually timed it by minus 7t, so that's negative. And then in this one, plus 3t times 5h, 3 times 5, t times h, right? And finally, plus 3t times minus 7t. Again, a plus times a minus, going to make a minus. 3 sevens are 21, and that would be t squared, right? Even though I've written this one as ht and I've written this one as th, they are the same thing, right? So my final answer, nothing I can do with the h squared. I have 15 of these. I have 15 positives, and I'm taking away 14 of them. So I'm only going to be left with 1 ht, or you don't even need to write the 1 in that case. And it doesn't matter which way those letters go. And then minus 21 t squared in the end. With this one, write the first thing. Right. I'm going to do quite a few of these. So 2x squared plus 8x. That's the first one, right? This is where you could go wrong with this method, right? It's minus 3 times x, which is minus 3x, but it's also minus 3 times 4. So both those become negative because they're both things are times in by minus 3. Remember also a minus times a minus makes a plus, but that's not needed here. And again, just like in the top example, these middle two things can be brought together, right? 8 take away 3 leaves 5 of those with that in the end. Slow progress, but we'll get there, guys. Right, this one, that, okay, so x times 5x is 5x squared. X times minus 2 is minus 2x. And all of these things now are times in by minus 3. Minus 3 times this, minus 3 times this, minus 3 times this. So minus 3 times x squared, right? Minus 3 times minus 2x. The minus times the minus makes a plus. 3 times 2 is 6. And you've got the x as well, okay? And then minus times a plus makes a minus, but it's 3 times 7, which is 21. Now, what can I simplify here? I've got some x squareds, and I'm taking away these ones. So I left with 2 of those. I've got minus 2x, but I'm adding 6 on to the minus 2, or do it the other way around. Think of the plus 6, and we're taking 2 away. Either way, we end up with 4x. And then the number that's on the end, there's not a lot I can do with. I'm leaving that one. I'm just going to write the answer to this. Does that make sense? Chaps, if you've got a square in a bracket, we have mentioned this. We mentioned it with surds. It means writing the bracket twice. That's why it belongs on this page, right? So again, if we want to do it the way we've been using above, it would be 5x times that bracket, and then minus 2 times that bracket. And you'd expand that and simplify that. Okay, and I'm going to leave the rest of that page to you. I think that's enough coverage of those type of things. Volume of a cylinder. All I'm going to say here is volume equals area times depth. Right? They actually use in the formula sheet the word height, and they call the area the cross-sectional. So just to make things awkward, so they will say the volume of a prism is the cross-sectional area times the height. All right. All that means is the area of the main shape times how deep it is. Okay. So the main shape here for cylinders is going to be a circle. So the area is going to be that. For this one, that would be pi times the radius of the circle squared. You're going to get 314. Right. Use your calculator. And then take your area and times it by your height. Again, you would get a calculator, but here you're timesing it by 2. And add in the 0 on the end, and it will be in centimeters cubed. Whereas this one would be centimeters squared, because at that point we've only worked out the area of the circle. Do the same with the bottom one, guys. Use a calculator. The other thing that it mentions in the bottom is you're going to get the volume, right, by doing pi times the radius squared to get the area times the height. Okay. However, they then tell you down here the mass is 423.1 grams, and they ask you what's the density. So remember, something you use in physics as well. The density is mass over volume. So something to be aware of going forward. The DMV triangle: density, mass, volume. And we're familiar with triangles like that, okay? So in this case, it'll be the mass divided by the volume, which you're going to work out for me, okay? And just checking my times. I'm okay for a minute. I'll go back to it. Okay. We're going to scoot through this for 5 minutes, and then this will bring me up to halfway through this booklet, and we'll stop. And basically, by the end of this week, everything up to there needs to be done, other than those pages I said to ignore, page 8 and 9, I think, okay? So your homework over the weekend is going to be to do all of that. So all I'm going to say on this one is, what is it we need? Calculate the length of QR. Right. It's a right angle triangle. I know a length. I know a length. I want to find a length, Pythagoras theorem. Because the length I want to know is the big side, it's going to be square. Don't round this answer because it's not your final answer. Square. Again, don't round this answer because it's not your final answer. Add them together and square root your answer. Square, square, add square root for that one. Calculate the length of the side. Okay, slightly different because this time it's not a length plus a length. I'm looking for I want to know what AB is. So this is the side they're interested in. I always tend to put an X on the side they want. It's a length and an angle. So this is anytime we see an angle involved, it's not Pythag, it's trig. So it takes labeling then. The hypotenuse. This side is opposite that angle. This side is adjacent to that angle. Okay. So Katoa. Okay. All right, cross the SET out. The side I know is the hypotenuse. This is the side I know. The side I want to know is the adjacent. And the side that I don't care about, because I don't know it and I don't want to know it, is the opposite. So we're going to use car. Okay, and we're trying to find the adjacent. So to find the adjacent, we need to do C times H. But what does that mean? Well, the C stands for cos, and it'll do that. In there, we put the angle. Cos theta, as we sometimes call it. Once we've worked that out, we're timesing it by H, and that's 13.8. Again, my calculator is playing up a bit, guys, so I'm leaving that to you. No, I'm not. It's going to work. I have faith in it. Let's go. It's actually working okay on my phone. So I get 10.4 centimeters. Okay. Quick one. If they mention the area of the triangle, as soon as they mention the area, you need to be like, oh, right, I can find a missing side using the area. We know that the area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. Base times height divided by 2. Base times height, don't know it, divided by 2. But the answer is 84, right? So 24 times the height needs to, if I take that up there and double it, is 168. And if you use a calculator to divide 168 by 24, I believe you get 7. So that's 7. Right? I haven't even looked at the question. I'm just looking like, oh, they're telling me the area of the triangle. I might as well work out the missing length. But it wants the perimeter. So to get the perimeter, I'm also going to need to know this side so that I can add up all the sides. Well, that's Pythagoras' theorem. Square, square, add square root. Okay? Hang on. Quick check on time again. I've got 2 minutes left before I have to stop this video because my time will run out. Time to discuss a few questions at least. Another one, okay. Calculate the length of the side MN, which is this. Again, label it. Hypotenuse, opposite. Strangely enough, chaps, and I don't know, it's just purely by luck in this example. Again, it's one where I want the adjacent. It's very similar to the one we just did. It's going to be car again, right? So there's nothing to say on that one, right? This looks like Pythag. I was waiting for it to say, find, square, square, subtract square root, right? But calculate the size of, if ever you see this, right? The middle one there is the angle they want, the one that's got the roof. That means work out this angle P. They would like this. Okay? This one, whenever we're finding an angle, is SOHCAHTOA, right? SOHCAHTOA, hypotenuse, opposite, adjacent. And we'll end with this, okay? SOHCAHTOA. Cross out H because we know it, but this time we're crossing out O, not because we want to know it, we're crossing out O because we also know it. A, again, we don't know A and we don't care what it is, right? So, S-O-H. Trying to find the angle though. So sin, don't know the angle, equals the opposite divided by the adjacent. Work that out, but then remember, to find theta, you need to sin minus 1, whatever that is. Okay, video could end at any point, right? It'll just cut me off. Another one to work at the side, right? Final thing to say, if it says prove it's a right angle triangle, you're like, what? They've given me all the sides. What are you talking about? Ignore that. Do square